You're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you're on repeat. You wake up with the same thoughts. You fall into the same reactions. You attract the same patterns. And deep down you wonder, why does this keep happening? Why do I always end up here? It's not fate. It's not trauma. It's not just how you are. It's a loop, a thought-emotion-behavior cycle, running quietly in the background, steering your choices, hijacking your logic, and calling itself you. But it's not you. It's programming, and until you see it, you can't stop it. This video isn't about motivation. It's about mind surgery, identifying the loop, breaking it, and building something that actually belongs to you. Part 1. What is a mind loop and why you don't see it? A mind loop is not a thought. It's a repeated sequence, a cycle that feels familiar, sounds like logic, but is actually automated programming. It looks like thinking, but it's actually replaying. The hidden structure of a loop. Here's how it works. Trigger. Something happens. A message, a look, a silence. Emotional echo. Old feeling returns. Abandonment, guilt, rejection. Cognitive justification. Brain creates a story to make it feel rational. Predictable behavior. You react the same way again. Confirmation. Outcome proves your belief. Loop strengthens. Over time, the loop runs faster and quieter. So quiet. You think it's just how you are. Why you don't see the loop? Because loops feel real, they're built on emotions you've already survived. So when they activate, they feel true, urgent, personal. But the truth is, they're just old recordings being triggered by new situations. Same response, different day, no growth. Real examples. You don't notice. You feel ignored, immediately overthink. Send 3 follow-up texts. You sense judgment, defend yourself excessively, spiral in doubt. You're praised, fear failure, sabotage yourself quietly. You didn't choose any of that. The loop chose for you. Most people don't live, they loop. They don't create new decisions, they repeat conditioned reactions, and then wonder why their life feels stuck, heavy, or familiar in all the wrong ways. Because you can't evolve. If the operating system is still running last decade's survival code, you're not being present, you're being reactivated, and until you see it, you'll keep mistaking the loop for your personality. Part 2. Why loops are more addictive than logic. You know the loop is hurting you. You know it's predictable. You've seen the outcome 100 times, but you still go back. Why? Because loops aren't just mental. They're neurological comfort zones. And your brain? It doesn't want change. It wants familiarity. The brain doesn't want truth. It wants safety. Logic is slow, uncertain. It requires effort and doubt. Loops, on the other hand, fast, automatic, emotionally satisfying, rewarding in the short term. Your nervous system remembers the loop, even if it led to failure, shame, or chaos. At least it's familiar, and what's familiar feels safe. Loop equals comfort through repetition. You don't crave them because they're good. You crave them because they're known. Even the worst patterns have a payoff. Overthinking gives you a sense of control. Defensiveness makes you feel safe. People-pleasing gives you temporary approval. Silence feels like protection from conflict. But none of those are solutions. They're just coping rituals masked as identity. Why logic often fails to break loops. Logic says, you know better. You've done this before. It never ends well. But the loop doesn't care, because it's not driven by understanding. It's driven by wiring. It was burned into your system. When you were vulnerable, emotional, reactive, and now? Your brain thinks survival equals repetition. You're not addicted to the person. You're addicted to the pattern. You don't chase them. You chase the neurochemical roller coaster they represent, the high of approval, the panic of disconnection, the mental spinning that makes you feel alive. It's not logic. It's dopamine, it's adrenaline, it's cortisol, it's chemistry, dressed up as destiny. Familiar equals easy to predict. And predictable pain feels safer than unpredictable power, because if you change the loop, you lose your script. You face the unknown. You take control. And control means responsibility. Most people would rather loop in pain than face the uncertainty of freedom. But if you want to evolve, you must break the addiction to the familiar, not by fighting it, but by replacing it with a system that makes the loop irrelevant. Part 3. The trigger, emotion, behavior. Loop. Most people don't live consciously. They live in loops. And every loop follows the same blueprint. Trigger, emotion, behavior, outcome, confirmation. You're not thinking, you're following a pre-recorded script. Step 1. Trigger. It starts with a cue, a message seen, a look ignored, a delay in response, a tone that hits just right. This moment activates stored memory, not rational thinking. You're not responding to what just happened. You're responding to every time it happened before. Step 2. Emotional memory activation. The trigger lights up the nervous system. Fast, instinctive, familiar. You feel panic, anger, shame, abandonment, rejection. This is not a feeling you chose. It's a programmed emotion coded from past experience. Step 3. Behavioral reflex. Emotion hijacks your cognitive system, and from here, you act, not decide. Common reflexes: texting to re-engage, over-explaining, apologizing for things you didn't do, mentally spiraling, seeking reassurance. The behavior isn't new. It's been used before. And every time it works, or doesn't, the loop strengthens. Step 4. Predictable outcome. The behavior leads to a familiar ending. You get ignored again. You feel embarrassed. You regret sending the message. You blame yourself. You feel stuck. And in that outcome, your brain says, "See, this is how life works. This always happens. I knew I'd mess it up." Step 5. Loop confirmation. The final blow. You internalize the cycle. You say things like, "I just always overthink. People always leave. I can't help it. I feel too much." And with that belief, the loop becomes part of your identity. The most dangerous loops are the ones that look like you. They don't scream, they whisper, "Don't speak up." If you chase, they'll stay. If you're too cold, you'll lose them. Just explain one more time. And they sound like wisdom, but they're just fear in disguise. You can't break what you don't see. until you trace the full cycle from trigger to emotion to behavior to outcome. You will live inside it. But once you map it, you can pause it, and once you pause it, you can replace it. Part 4. Loop Disruption. Protocol: How to break the pattern. You don't break a loop by trying harder. You break it by interrupting the code. This isn't about motivation. It's about intervention. You're not here to resist emotion. You're here to override the system. The 3-step protocol: pause, observe, inject. Every loop can be broken if you apply this sequence in real time. 1. Pause the loop. The moment the trigger hits, don't act, don't respond, don't explain. Delay is disruption. No motion equals no loop. Silence interrupts the automatic pathway. Even a 5-second pause is a break in neurological flow. You're freezing the system long enough to take control. Use breath. Change physical position. Walk, stand, step away. Whatever keeps your body from executing the loop's default command. Second, observe the emotional lie. Once still, ask, is this true or just familiar? What emotion is being recycled right now? What's the belief hiding inside this reflex? Example. Trigger. They leave your message on scene. Feeling, I'm being abandoned. Story, I'm not good enough. Loop, reaction. Over-texting to feel reconnected. The truth? It's not about them. It's the loop screaming for comfort. And comfort is not clarity. 3. Inject new logic. Once you've paused and identified the lie, you insert truth. Cold, strategic, empowering truth. I am not chasing this pattern again. This is an emotion, not a directive. I don't respond to confusion. I wait for clarity. Then choose a preset response protocol, not a reaction. Silence, delay, redirect attention. Do the opposite of what the loop wants. Now you're not running the code, you're rewriting it. Bonus, break the physical anchor. Loops are often tied to body behavior, phone checking, sitting posture, breathing pace, eye movement. Interrupt the physical, weaken the emotional. Stand, change room, switch hands, alter breath. Micro movements equals macro disruption. Repeat equals reinforcement. One successful disruption is a crack in the wall, but repetition is what builds the new system. Each time you pause, observe, inject, the old neural loop loses signal, and the new one takes root. You're not here to win the emotion. You're here to render it powerless by removing its pathway, because you don't need to fix the feeling. You just need to refuse the loop it came from. Part 5. Replacing the loop with strategic thought architecture. Breaking the loop is the first step, but if you don't replace it, your mind will default back to the old code. Nature hates a vacuum. So does your brain. If you don't install a new pattern, the old one sneaks back in, quietly, subtly, destructively. You don't delete a pattern, you overwrite it. Old loop, trigger, emotion, reaction, regret. New system, trigger, pause, logic insertion, protocol, execution, control maintained. You're not suppressing emotion, You're rerouting it, not into chaos, but into strategy. Build your strategic mental framework. Start simple. If X happens, run protocol Y. Examples, if they pull away. Then I don't chase, I redirect focus. If I feel rejected, then I reinforce frame. I don't self-attack. If I'm tempted to explain, then I stay quiet. I let silence speak power. Now, when the loop activates, you don't resist it. You replace it with a command. How to reinforce the new architecture? Repetition. Run the new protocol until it becomes default. Reflection. Review every win. That was logic, not emotion. Reward. Celebrate clarity, not outcome. Train your mind to associate power with non-reaction. From reaction to precision. With strategic architecture in place, you no longer fear your emotions. You don't analyze every feeling. You don't spiral for hours. You just scan, run code, move on. Your mental system is now quiet, calculated, controlled, cold, not numb, focused. You don't just think differently, you think on your own terms. Final CTA. You were never weak, you were just looping. Same thoughts, same reactions, same outcomes. Not because you chose them, but because you never paused to question the code. But now, you've traced the loop, you've disrupted the sequence, you've installed a system of response over reaction. You no longer think in circles, you think in structure. No more reactivity, no more emotional reflexes dressed as personality, no more calling programming intuition. This is your architecture now. Trigger, pause, emotion, observation, outcome, protocol. You're not escaping the pattern, you're replacing it. And that makes you untouchable. Not because you feel nothing, but because nothing enters your system without permission.